Welcome back, everybody. St. Clair doing the dirty work, getting care of the Berry Bucks, and now we've got a decider matchup largely between Rowan and the Profs, now going up against UT Chattanooga and the Mox COD squad. Interesting battle here, obviously for UTC, some natural favor put into them because of how they finished off the regular season, but that does not necessarily guarantee anything, as this group stage has been anything but predictable so far in the Eastern region.
I'm done trying to bench anything off of what information I've been able to gather. And I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to watch the games unfold. I can give you the history for all of these teams, sure, but how they might fare up against each other, I just got to watch the games and tell you, man, I have no idea.
Well, we can at least get some sort of a barometric test based on how the regular season went with both these teams as we take a look at the head-to-head overall. UTC, I will say just kind of statistically, is looking at a much more favorable line as Rowan had some troubles in tier, which is a lot of where those losses were tasked for UTC, competitive pretty much all the way throughout their tier 1 grouping.
Yeah, that's right. Rowan University, you can see some inflation coming through, specifically on their hard points to control, well, really everything. I mean, 10 and 8 Search and Destroy isn't anything to really just write home about, but even still, they were forced down into the LCQ, where they did beat MSU, the Cyberhawks, in 5 maps to qualify for this group. So it's going to be one of those things to see how they continue to improve, because the last time that you and I saw them, not exactly something that you want to be able to write home about, as they got absolutely obliterated by the Davenport Panthers.
Yeah, it really wasn't all that close at all, but Rowan has at least been able to work their way, as you mentioned, through the LCQ. And in this group particularly, it's been, I don't know, it's been a difficult one because you've got Concord in it, obviously, first and foremost, which is to be the expected team to come out on top for everybody. And then the Fanshawe Fuel, who, obviously, they played pretty well throughout their run through the LCQ, and even in some of the groups, there were some expectations, maybe what they could do, but it was, honestly, a pretty complete 3-0 for Rowan when they had played them. So both teams come into this with a lot on the line. This one largely will determine who will be the number 2 seed out of this group, you would expect, with Concord. So let's get to know this Rowan University team a bit larger and a little bit more in-depthly as they try to take on the Mox COD squad and see if they can form their own upset in their own right. The full-man roster: Jester, Soapy, Sosa, Mikey Buff. It's going to be a tall ask for them, but hey, who knows?
It's hard, again, to gauge with, I guess, like the lack of VOD that I do have for the Profs coming in towards this matchup. But the one thing I will say for certainty when they are going up against this UT Chattanooga, the Mox COD, is that they have to be able to match the pace, if not have a trendsetter on their side of the roster, right? I mean, they have to be able to have at least one player able to go bat for bat, blow for blow in certain instances of times, whether it's an AR Flex or an SMG, depending on what map we're going to be on. Somebody needs to step up to the plate and be a knockout performer for this team.
I like the call. Let's take a look on the other side, though, for UTC. Some known names. Obviously, there was some bitter rivalry that was established recently with one of our mainstay players, Red Chase, looking to kind of get some revenge against his Concord team. That didn't happen. It was a pretty good 3-0 for Concord when they played in their opening group stage match. But Red Chase is joined with Slim, Click, and Superior. And I'll just say, I mean, for a squad that we were largely relating the narrative to Red Chase because of the transfer, it's honestly been a supporting cast, if you want to call it that has maybe stepped to the forefront in recent memory.
Look, I will go on the narrative of always just gassing up playoff Red Chase. I mean, it was one thing that you and I really hit home when they were going on that stint versus Texas A&M Maroon back in the Modern Warfare year. But even still, what made playoff Red Chase great was the supporting roster around what was still Concord Maroon at the time. Paralysis, Trauma, Crooked. It was always right there to make sure that Red Chase was able to, get the value, or also Megatron. I feel like that a tweet's coming my way if I don't mention him. But even still, I think that you have to look, you have to look at Click, Slim, and Superior, specifically Superior, to be able to meet the pace that Red Chase and Click are going to constantly set. Look, Click needs a bounce back of a series. They got had bad versus that Concord roster. Yes, the hardpoint was close on Berlin, 193 to 250, but the Tuscan Search and Destroy and the Tuscan Control was anything but. Click, Red Chase, they need a bounce back of a series, and they might just be able to find it here ahead of the double Elam bracket.
Well, let's take a look at the best of 5 map series layout as we consider where exactly the action will unfold. We'll get Tuscan, Berlin, Tuscan, Berlin, Tuscan. That's all I have to say.
It's a Berlin Big Mac.
Dude, when was the last time we casted Gavudu in the CCL? I feel like it's been years. It was yesterday, but it feels like it's been years.
I was like, Alan, well, we casted a Kavutu hardpoint yesterday, but yeah, it's did we even really cast a Kavutu hardpoint? Because like Oklahoma Christian did 250 to 68 record,
that's why I almost forgot.
But this Berlin Big Mac sandwich is going to be interesting because we do have at least some indication of where we might be able to see some versatility amongst the flex players. Some ARs can get activated on those longer lines of sight, could influence a lot of rotations and holds when we're thinking about just map number 1 for a Tuscan hardpoint. And then it's also going to come down to the submachine guns. We talked about this a lot when we were looking at that St. Clair roster go up against Barry Bucks. The break potential was always there on the Berlin hardpoint thanks to Brandon's success, constantly fighting that pressure with the submachine gun. You can find that plus some more for UTC, specifically by way of Click's MP40. That will be there, and again, it needs to be answered by the profs. All questions will be answered here momentarily.
All right, well, we'll see. And I guess we didn't really mention this, but, you know, as much as the Mox got kind of beat up on map 2, map 3 in the series versus Concord, Rowan put together very similar results in total score. In fact, they were actually more competitive in the Search and Destroy than UTC was. So who knows? Maybe this Rowan team's coming a little bit different with some extra confidence after they worked their way out of the LCQ, as you had mentioned. First blood will be tallied up, and actually really good zoning of the middle of the map here for Rowan as well. They've got a good idea of where the contest could be coming from, but the problem is they're not winning the gunfights as they find them. So it's down to Soapy, tries to predict and try to extend his life, and he'll be shut down as the Mox break.
Yeah, after losing that first engagement by way of a stun grenade, UT Chattanooga are doing a bang-up job of just resurfacing themselves again. They are on the side of the map that you want to be holding on to just right about now, and Click is just layering in the pressure off screen, finds themselves 4 in a row. It's just going rogue over by Vines. He catches so many players off guard, and UT Chattanooga are also reading where the return hit is coming from. Rowan Esports trying to put themselves in a position, try to play for P5 hit, maybe try to influence some spawn flip in the initial time for 2.
Okay. It's a good double from Soapy. He keeps the play definitely active and alive. Would love to see him wait for a little bit of help here. Tries to read off the spawn. Actually takes down Slim down low. Big gunfight win for the profs. But do they have the help to break? Do they need the help to break? Soapy says, I'll just take care of it myself. Stun will connect. Want to wait for the regen, but also wanted to capitalize on the concussive effects. And as that comes through, Click gets involved as the recontest from the Mox is in. And that will be good enough for a glide bomb as Click kicks to 7.
You still have Soapy in the back. Keep in mind, you, that they are messing with these north grass spawns, so they should be able to reinforce here sometime soon. Never mind, because Click finds himself kill number 8 in a row. There's the glide bomb, at least accrued in the past kill. And now you can just essentially just hold from the front. Look, it's 56 v 13. Click can continue to finesse up top, but you're conceding the back end of the scrap time to try to influence these rooftop spawns ahead of 3. But Soapy and Mikey Buff are trying to contest it early.
Good win off screen for Jester on that finesse of the scrap. That's going to keep this relatively close, and you do see it's a 2v2 over towards new Soapy. Soapy. Definitely not his name. He's able to at least take down one Sosa for his trade. Should lead to the Mox being put on the outside looking in, but the problem is Rowan had spawned old still, and they were too slow to come over to actually win spawns overall. So the Mox will have a more favorable look over Fountain, and the kills just keep coming, man. Someone needs to help Soapy, dude. This is getting out of hand. It's 5 in math for the other 3 to the 7 and 6 of Soapy. The dude needs some help.
5 in math, yeah, indeed. I mean, he has more kills combined between Mikey, Sosa, and Jester. You would hope that some help does come through. Nice nade. Will at least get that player off the back half wall, but you need to be able to at least work your way back in. This is a big 20 seconds to fight over if you are the profs, and, well, they're going to be able to find it, but the leader's advantage is already kind of being felt by UT Chattanooga. Mox are going to put themselves in a position, try to win the rotation early. You also got Click trying to finesse for some scrap time. That is a tough gunfight to battle as Soapy was playing the head glitch over by the Fountain. So now you're just going to be able to concede the map for now. Just wait for reinforcements to work their way across the mid-map and try to break on early.
Set something up here if you're Rowan. Let Soapy go do whatever he wants because he's good for it. But you have to set up a coordinated hit, and these are good kills coming through Jester and Sosa, the first 2. That will neutralize the time and give the profs a good look at it. Actually, they will actually flip the spawns too. So now it's up to UTC to have to break from the front, and Jester has read this. Okay, 3 in a row for the AR. And how about the 4th right in front of his face? Sosa there to help, as a nade will eventually deal with it, but a favorable kill feed nonetheless, as the profs have an opportunity if they can win the scrap time here to make it a neutral game, but Click gets through, and oh boy, now he's on the finesse wagon. The pistol nearly gets the job done, but still it's Rowan with the favorable spawns that can reinforce and at least continue to contest the scrap time.
still will be able to break on in is Red Chase, 13-7 for them, so they will be able to soak up the back 5 seconds here, and you already have teammates trying to influence the P5 rotation as well. You can see where the Profs are spawning in on the west side of Ruin, so you're going to have an isolated play coming forward towards Click. That's Jester that's slow rolling their way towards the rooftops. Will be a low coordinated pinch. Click didn't know which direction to mostly look at, so they deal with the lurking player. Jester off the 2-piece. The numbers are here for Rowan, and they have broken in early.
Yeah, good stuff here from the Profs, keeping this tight as possible. Red Chase on 3. Sneakily moves up the backside staircase, and he's got help in the form of Click. Oh, it's worked out beautifully for these two. This is essentially just a 2v4 onto the point. Jester able to get one and get away. Wants the second challenge, an ill-advised one as Click will punish, and the Mox start generating more scores. They get above the 120 threshold.
20 seconds still to battle over. This is not time that you just want to completely concede and try to play for the rotation. You cannot allow UT Chattanooga to be able to build such a big lead going in towards the second set. We'll at least find one. Mikey Buff trying to at least finesse for some scrap time. Will just jump on in. The Superior Spray is now on a 4 spree themselves, but that kind of left numbers dwindling for the Mox going in towards the second set of hardpoints. Still a big lead nonetheless, about 60 points and growing. And if you are the Profs, you need to be able to turn P1 into a massive hardpoint, but that's going to be the call. Click immediately brings in the glide bomb. Will combine with Red Chase and Superior to get 3 off the map, and the break is already in.
Yeah, but the good news about this was Soapy was able to at least give his teammates a chance to get back up towards the A field. So even though 20 seconds is good for UTC, the Profs are starting to set up a bit of a secondary hit, not just from the front, but also through mid. The problem about this is the nades for UTC are actually connecting pretty darn nicely. Superior earns himself on 7 in a row, is knocking at the door of another glide bomb here. And, well, Rowan needs to be very careful on what they want to do in this last 20 seconds. If you overcommit to scrap, you might be left a little short-handed towards new. And that actually looks like it will be the case, as 3 members will commit for old, and UTC will earn the glide bomb and have an exit rotation over to the second hill.
Yeah, and this is all at the back end. Again, as you were saying, you're kind of left short-handed as far as the hold over towards P2 is concerned, because Red Chase already found 1 kill on the backside of P5. Just action will end up getting the first ball, but Red Chase will get that kill. Some help is coming through from behind. Mikey Buff needs to get this trade on the Red Chase. They will find it. Close spawns are being threatened. Keep in mind, you, as you had both Slim and Superior flood their way in towards the back. The break is already in. The lead are being synced on in for UT Chattanooga.
And it's growing at an increment that is just going to be unplausible that Rowan can come back in with an 8 and 22 member. It's just the kill feeds aren't coming through, and even Soapy's hot start has been cooled. Jester kind of picking up where he had left off in a way, but it just, one player versus all 4 of UTC is never going to go your way. So over 200 points go the Mox. Sosa trying to keep some contest here for the scrap, but I don't think he realizes that he has to be the one to soak up time. Instead, it's going to be just a concession towards that scrap time to game clock while the Profs hard focus on a 4-man hit back over towards the tile side of this fountain hardpoint. Decent kills coming through to start, but the Mox still have numbers to fight back with. At least you thought that would be the case based on their positioning. But instead, it's actually Rowan who do collect the kills and get into the hill.
You just hope that that 4-player stack and giving up the back of the scrap time will at least pay dividends for a massive time here on 3. A glide bomb calls in. Yeah, that's not good at all. At least you're getting some help by way of Superior's glide bomb, but the hit's still coming all the way through. You still have to deal with Red Chase and Superior, of which they do so in kind. Superior will be able to clean up that last kill, but they did not block the rooftop spawn, so the Profs can contest once again.
Well, from the front, things looking positive. Superior gets a double. Click helps out for the 3rd. And with 20 seconds left, it's going to be actually the Mox that are going to commit to this off of largely where they spawn, and that is not great news for Rowan. This will put the Mox within striking distance and only marginal points away from winning this map. And, well, for Rowan, not even halfway there yet. So it's going to have to take some perfection. And I don't know. It's just been too slow of a start here for the Rowan Profs. But an opportunity to at least soak up some early time here on Church. Threat starting to be established for UTC from both the front and the back. The pinch play is largely successful, but Mikey, maybe it's a day late, dollars short, but it's 4 in a row as he starts to get things going.
38 seconds. Only need 14 if you are the Mox, and the hit's coming through from Lawn. So now you just got to be able to get these trades, of which inside of Church, Jester will be able to at least find those trades required to hold on to the hard point. But again, leader's advantage is there. UT Chattanooga are just seeing red. They are going to hit it one more time.
Yeah, why not? Especially when Click this takes down 3 by himself.
Yep, so, sure, why not?
that could be the game right there, but you also have Superior zoning off the rotation to New, and you have to feel like Rowan is going to try to hit both of these two things at the same time. We can only give away 8 seconds. They do take care of Red Chase pretty cleanly, but, I mean, Superior, if he just finds one, that's fine. And there it is. So now you've got numbers and a good proximal zone around the hard point if you're UTC, and, well, the kills are just coming, and they don't stop coming. And they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. Word to Smash Mouth. UTC win.
Almost upset that you didn't just like break off into full song there. I mean, like,
No, that would have gotten annoying.
I
know my limits.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I feel like you have a beautiful singing voice. I've just never heard it before. But look, the Mox, they essentially get away with highway robbery when you're really thinking about it. I mean, like the trades just simply weren't there at all. We'll talk more about the stats here momentarily, but. You know, I go back to that P3 setup initially. Again, they gave up the back 10 seconds on P2, where the profs had numbers to be able to obviously get that, send 3 players through tiles, get those close rooftop spawns. It would have been okay to maybe dance to be able to get that initial time. The glide bomb comes in, it takes down a teammate, but then you lose the recontest 2v4 coming out of wine.
Yep.
And that's where I draw the line, that it's just, you can clearly see the discrepancy, not only just as far as gun skill is concerned between these two rosters, but also as far as the overall fundamentals, how strong it is early coming through from Mox to be able to overwhelm these breaks potential that were coming all the way through, and we're successful at that.
You just can't start off the map in a 1v4 as well. I think the initial setup for Rowan looked pretty solid, but no one was winning gunfights besides Soapy. And then he even finishes -7 at the end of it. He started off super hot. But really, in the end, his numbers are marginalized to pretty convincing nature. On the other front, though, Red Chase and Click dominant from start to finish. And even, I mean, you've got, 14 non-traded of the 16 from Slim. It felt like everyone was doing their job to the fullest extent if you're UT Chattanooga.
Dude, Slim was vibing. Look at the engagement numbers,
too.
I felt like there was a moment in time when we were talking about this UT Chattanooga roster, where, like, dude, Superior is that guy that we need to watch to be the 4th player to finally step up and keep this team together. 25 and 18. Say what you will against I guess a determined profs, not necessarily a battle-tested profs, but like Superior was definitely playing the role that was required. That we definitely want to see continuing on. But I mean, Click again, 4,200 damage, 25 non-traded kills. It was just everywhere at once, and the profs. From Rowan, they just simply did not have an answer for the pressure that was being laid out by Click as they were finding what felt like back-to-back 3 pieces for their own individual break attempts for scrap.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those that I feel like you look at the head-to-head, you don't expect Rowan to take a hard point off UTC.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to see them stay competitive, especially considering that they did stay competitive with Concord. Even though they lost in that series 3-0, they were competitive just as much so as UT Chattanooga was in the hard point. They were actually more competitive in the search, being a 6-4 compared to the Mox 6-2 in that affair. So maybe an opportunity here for Rowan to get back on the board. I feel like you kind of have to. This is kind of like you have to win the 2-5 and then find something in between, whether it be your selection of hardpoint or on the control.
Oh, absolutely. It has to be. If it doesn't start here, I mean, we could be in store for a very quick 3-0 in favor of UTC. If the Berlin Search and Destroy isn't contested and won by Rowan, I would end up seeing UT Chattanooga just walking away with the series as a whole. This was a map, keep in mind, that we have seen the Mox play continuously. And if you're looking for any comparisons, as you were already talking about Rowan versus Concord, comparatively to UT Chattanooga versus Concord University last week on Tuscan, there was a lot of individualistic plays that were just not coming up, and frustration set in very early for UT Chattanooga. I don't think that that's going to be a problem going forward for them, just something to always keep an eye out for when it comes down to their search and destroy. They clearly have the better gunnies coming off of that hard point. It's just making sure that they don't just stretch over too far and give easier gunfights to the profs.
All right, let's see. It's all down to the opening rounds for me. Have to be able to put together diverse and flexible looks to keep UTC guessing. And they actually get read off of this opening stun, I have to imagine, from UTC, so they know that there is at least some threat over towards the backside of mailroom. Defensively, it's just a 2-2 split. And Click is actually only watching for the immediate rotational calls. So there's not going to be a lot of reaction time here for Superior, who's stuck inside a B. But if Click can even get a couple of shots in, it'll make life much easier for that sole defender.
Spidey senses are starting to tingling here for the profs. I mean, they're kind of backing off in a way that they know that UT Chattanooga have somewhat of a forward setup on here. But stuns, nades, they already came through aplenty, so they need to commit towards this B side, and they need to win this gunfight.
Not going to happen, though. Jester looking to follow up on the trade, and there's Click's position, just watching for it. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty default static defense, and it just works out the way it's intended to. Although, okay, Soapy creates a problem mid-map. That will have to be adjusted to in some form. But you have to assume, I think, if you're UTC, that the bomb is down over towards B, considering how the hit has happened. Red Chase has got a good look at Sosa. And Soapy will not be able to save his life. So 1v2 we go. Soapy on the play forward. Red by Click. Stunned up as well. The secondary chow after the stun connects is easily won. And the Mox will win their opening defense.
Yeah, there's really not much to break down because it was, again, just as tried and true of a defensive setup as you could possibly ask for when it comes down to negating any sort of B-push antics. So you got Click that immediately got inside of bottom mail. They were watching the window for that one cross that they do have available to them. And that was all mostly just set up Superior, maybe some early damage. Maybe you found a kill to help things out going in towards the B hut itself. Got numbers in their favor, although Soapy did start some minor bit of heroics that was combined with Sosa to at least find 2 returning kills. It just too much map position in the favor for UT Chattanooga to follow all the way through. For their offense, going to be looking at this B-bomb site. There's only really one player here watching this, and that is Sosa all the way on the backside of Crane, as Soapy was very late to watch this lane.
Yeah, this shouts that we're playing retake here if you're Rowan. And Soapy on the scope, maybe he gets a chance to get a kill off the exit, but it looks like the profs are relying that it's actually going to be Mikey on the flank to kind of open things up, but as he gets red, that play is no longer available. So now it's to be one from the front. Superior watching the backside of Doc. Sosa should have pushed him back. That should allow Soapy a chance to move in, but the problem is he's only going to have a pistol. Mikey off the flank eventually gets back in the mailroom. This is an opportunity for the profs to really create some chaos here in towards the B site in particular, but as Red Chase is able to take down one, that creates a lot of problems for the profs on time. Has to hold for this. Mikey clears off warehouse. Does Slim have an angle? Sure does. Gets the elimination. There'll be no more time for the defuse. The clutch spot too strong as UT Chattanooga take of the opening 2 rounds.
Yeah, it's like you were saying. I mean, you created an opportunity to maybe get inside of the B hut, but the problem still remains that if the bomb goes down over by B and you cannot get inside or in the back of warehouse and deal with all of the players, they dealt with the one inside of the boathouse and the one over by docks, sure. But the player inside of the warehouse, that is the clutch position, as you saw from Slim, just locking down the line of sight, was able to get that one player off of the defuse with about 6 seconds left in the round. Just was not going to be there for the profs to be able to get that trade, plus the defuse as well. You really do have to fly to be able to get those last few players out from those power positions when that bomb does get planted. So 2 rounds in, both in the favor of the Mox, going back towards this B committal. You can see Click immediately off the map as well. Doesn't go inside a mail this time. This time they're playing the truck.
Yeah, different angle being held, but you've got Superior on the backside, making sure he's safe from the dock side. This is, again, another nice strategic setup. Trade will be there, though, so the play can stay alive, and Superior has to give some respect to that. Slim looks to rotate and help, and actually they catch Mikey trying to cook up a nade, so a free kill gets tallied, and the bomb carrier has fallen with that. Soapy caught mid-map, trying to make something happen, and Sosa really can do not too much, you would feel like, from this position. So you need to get into a spot to where you can maybe start to get around the back. Maybe you've got an opportunity to sneak into fire. I mean, we obviously know that because we see the minimap, but he's going to have to make something happen just by sheer gut check reactions.
And got to allocate about a 5 seconds to be able to get that bomb planted. It doesn't even have it, needs to collect it. At least sees it. But there's no telling where these last few players located at. You could potentially be dealing with a player inside of the docks building, but it was just inside the B hut. That is the smart call coming through. UT Chattanooga, again, when it comes down to the 2 players, just the B defense is just so strong between Superior and Click, who, again, Click essentially does the same thing. He just, instead of being inside a mail, he plays outside over by the tank in that position to try to get very aggressive in a way to be able to find that first blood. He walks away with it and still gets out with his life somehow, some way for a certain amount of time. That the profs then have to chase to be able to get that trade, but by the time they do that, all the other cross angles are being held, and the crossfire is just too good for UT Chattanooga to take yet another round.
Well, it's going to be an A hit, at least initially here for UTC. Mikey, good for the opening to trade out his life. And Jester helping from beyond. Successfully wins the opening engagement for the Profs. Slim keeping the play alive, though, as he collects a kill mid-map. And he will likely be trusted as the one to come collect the bomb, as Red Chase kind of has to stay in this position, you have to feel like. And yeah, they will collect, rejoin one another. They know Jester's got to be playing somewhere near the backside of the site. And actually, I think that nade may have connected. Red Chase is going to sneak a little bit further forward towards these bunker sandbag stairs, but does not expect that Jester had backed so far up into lobby that it created enough space for him to keep him at arm's length. And now it's just down to Slim for a 1v2. And he's got Sosa lurking behind. But wait a second. Sosa may overstep his bounds here. Slim is in a good spot. This stun is going to connect, so he knows where both players are. And as the reset comes through sneaky, Slim could actually maybe beat the timing here.
Oh, see Sosa throw some shots early. Sosa's going to go down the stairs. Slim has to commit towards planting this bomb, but I mean, Sosa's not committing to come back in through the stairs. The stun will connect. That's going to activate Sosa to try to collect on that kill. Oh, the nade, yeah.
That's a big old frag. Well, wait, Slim is able to actually get the regen and stay alive. Oh, great intel here. Maybe being a little too cute with it, though. Doesn't chase down the kill into Sosa, who will punish, and the Profs get on the board.
I don't know why, man. Like one of the longer frag grenades I've ever seen. I caught my eye by a glimpse. That hurts. That really does. I mean, had the read and everything. Got the stun on one more player trying to contest them upper courtyard. Knew that you had one player in the backside of lobby, but when you're in a 1v2 situation like that, you just have to get twisted, have to take quick gunfights like that. Even if you found that first, you'd have to assume some damage was at least going to be traded, and then the overall trade of the elimination was going to be there. Regardless of the amount of the Profs finally put themselves on the board. It took them 4 rounds, but they were able to do it. Stopping that A push that did come through from UT Chattanooga is going to be feeling pretty darn good if you are a fan of Rowan Esports. Now they're going to try their hand. 4 players strong, keep in mind, G, to assault this A-bomb.
And Red Chase may have gotten some intel there. He's going to be playing prone, looking for just a 1-for-1. Oh, boy. Was so focused on the front door, which was Slim's responsibility, that he gets instantly traded from the side door. But at least there is some sort of a trade coming out. The problem about this is Mikey is pushed so far forward here that there's really no way that Slim can recontest. Although, wait a second. Kill actually does come through from the middle of the map and finds Mikey deep. So now the Profs kind of have to bail. They don't have the ability of committing to this A site anymore.
Oh, and as they try to bail, they run into Superior. Now, they do get that kill, but you'd imagine that the communication's coming through, that some damage was able to be found, so that's going to activate Click to pinch us from behind.
Oh, timing is good. It's the first. Does he expect the second? No, it may not matter. Eesh. So lucky to be alive. And now, 1v1 with Slim at range. Slim catches him in the corner of the stairwells at Train. And UT Chattanooga get through the 2v2 and go up 4-1.
Again, it's all of the back end of being able to find Mikey in the middle of the map. That kill does not come through. Mikey goes unscathed and unnoticed in the middle of the map. Those rotations that was coming through from Click to be able to pinch in the backside of Train just simply would not have been there. But that was a great realization from Slim to be able to at least clear that position away and to quite literally keep all of the Profs trapped inside of the train station. Never want to be an owl inside the train station. I hear they don't like it in there. But Slim,
no, they don't.
Now up top inside of the warehouse. I don't think that they saw Mikey cross. That is a very tight angle. The way that he was jumping across does not at least offer it. So the bomb being carried by Red Chase is going to be called to try to rotate back over towards A, where Mikey pushed all the way through.
Yeah, and it really is just kind of a tale of two spoilers right here. Click playing inside a mail by himself, and as you mentioned, Mikey playing forward at train station. Oh, but he takes a couple of shots. It's going to reveal his position, and that'll be an easy kill over towards the A focus. Although Soapy gets rewarded with a free kill onto Click, who tried to get a little bit too far forward. So now UTC, do they know they have clearance at A? It doesn't seem to be so, as they will get the bomb planted, but they're not choosing to put much pressure in towards the stone courtyard. And honestly, they're not even backing up to play for a post-plant position. So now you're kind of bunkered onto the A site. The retake is largely coming from behind, and Soapy's stun's going to give this away. So UT Chattanooga should know exactly where to keep their focus. Nade comes out, but Red Chase pushes through the window to collect the kill, and we go 3v2.
And Red Chase just commits to it. Flies all the way from behind. Superior takes down Sosa. Jester trying to lock down any sort of kills that they could possibly find. Only has 3 bullets inside the rat. Tries to go for the melee. Gets it. Still needs 7.5 seconds to be able to get the defuse, and Red Chase could just play the clock. Just needs to check it right about now. They will find Jester, but I gotta say that got pretty close. That is a heat check of a call coming through from Red Chase. They saw one player of Soapy hooking up that nade out from the bottom side of the office window, and then just flies at him. Got the early damage, chased it down, and then committed all the way towards the flank, but ooh, it got pretty scary, especially with that melee beatdown coming all the way through. But if maybe you add an extra 15 seconds, 5 seconds even at that, to be able to watch that pinch, I don't even know if you would still stand a chance, because Red Chase has played a lot of Search and Destroy through their young career of Call of Duty that they probably just know to play against the clock.
So one more here for UTC to go up 2-0 in the series, and pretty much at that point, you would have to think squander the hopes of the Rowan Profs getting out of the groups and into the playoff bracket. It'd be tough to build a storyline that would lead to cause for a reverse sweep, so 5 rounds in a row required. First blood good, counter nade better, and oh, Soapy, he gets a little timid seeing the door open, or I should say antsy more than timid, kind of the opposite of timid. Stun through, not going to connect, and the bomb is still all the meantime kind of stuck outside warehouse. There's not been a commitment to B yet.
And their only hope there for Soapy for some help was Jester just watching the angle. Sosa is also watching it. The gunfight's just a little bit too clean coming through from UT Chattanooga. They know where Jester's at. It is not a joke anymore, my friend. You have to do something wildly and impressive of which you simply cannot find. UT Chattanooga, a dominant search and destroy here on Berlin. 6-1 goes the tally. And they are putting themselves in prime position to make a quick 3-0 on the evening for themselves and solidifying their ticket to the double elim bracket.
Yep. All right. Well, convincing stuff here for UTC in the search. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what had happened versus that Concord team that Rowan was finding so much success with. I mean, limited amounts of success. You know, 250, 193, 6-4 on the search, and then a 3-1 control. So it would have to be a control for Rowan to get back into the series, but at the moment it looks like UTC is just playing at the level that you would expect to see a team in the top 25 do.
Yeah, I mean, again, you go through a lot of those rounds, specifically those B defensive setups that were coming through from UT Chattanooga. I mean, they know what's on the line here. Of course, the double elimination bracket, they lose this. Some things could be in contention for them going forward. But even more so than that is that they're not just disregarding that they are just better than the Profs. You and I can see that. We have already analyzed that. The stats will also replicate that. But at the same time, they are still playing fundamentally strong Search and Destroy. They are still playing to the playbook. They're not getting over egregious with their positionings, just running at their opponents. They're playing the information game, and they're still playing a very stellar setup. Red Chase 6-4, 4 non-traded kills, 3 non-traded for Click. 8-6 was really a true beneficiary as far as a lot of value was being found over by those B strongholds, making sure that nobody from Rowan was able to get over towards that B site scot-free. But Slim is that guy, pal. 5 non-traded kills, 8-3 with the AR, dropped about 820 damage.
Yeah, pretty much comfortable stuff, even though the first bloods were not necessarily out of grips here.
Yeah.
3 out of the 7 rounds going to Rowan. I think the biggest thing is, even though they may have tallied first blood, a lot of the success in the first engagements still went the way of UTC. Like, a first blood that immediately gets traded really isn't, like, a statistical advantage, right? Like, it's okay, cool, we 3v3'd it. Like, it wouldn't have made a difference. And that kind of seemed to be the case, you know, throughout. I mean, only 1 assist for Rowan kind of gives you that influence, I think, just generally speaking. So now that leads to a 2-0 map, kind of talked about before, and a reverse sweep has to come through here for the Profs. Otherwise, they will be eliminated from group play and see themselves just short of the playoff bracket. We'll see how things unfold in the control when we come back after our halftime break. Welcome back, everybody. It is a 2-0 convincing affair thus far for UT Chattanooga in a matchup that will determine the second seed out of the group into the playoff double elimination top 16 bracket. I'm Shift with Be Proper, and it's just been so many different things here that the advantages start tallying in favor of UTC. It leaves us with a very thin margin when it comes to a kind of ground to stand on when we start to talk about a Rowan reverse sweep that would have to come through.
Ice is thin, it's cracking. I can almost feel myself falling into the depths if I try to talk too much, throw too much optimism in towards the Profs' favors. Look, 250, 150 on that Tuscan hardpoint, and then the 6-1 Search and Destroy is going to speak a lot of volumes that the Profs have a hard time at keeping up with the pace early on, of which the Mox are bringing to the table. You could even go back towards the first 3 hard points there on Tuscan hardpoint. You didn't necessarily have anybody besides Soapy that was putting up any sort of semblance of numbers whatsoever. That cannot be the case here on Tuscan Control. You allow too much ground to be open for players like Click or Red Chase to run into your face plus your spawn. Oh man, we might be in for a speedrun here.
Yeah. Very well could be. And I think the biggest thing here is just, as much as the kills were tighter in the search and destroy, the amount of ground that's been given up because of lost gunfights has been a major problem for Rowan. It just never feels like they have map possession. Like if there were to be a statistic about like, you know, if you had more than 50% of the map control, you start to like tick up like, you know, time, you know, like time of possession, if you want to call it, towards the majority of the map. The numbers would be minimal, I feel like, for Rowan just through the first 2 maps that we've seen so far. So that already has to be, you know, key number 1 when it comes to changes. And I think on top of that, just getting involved with team shots. There was 1 assist in the search and destroy for Rowan. That's not going to be good enough. You got to get involved with your teammates.
Well, to see, it's going to be the offense first and foremost for the Mox. They are splitting the map 1-3. Slim will be over here causing a little bit of a ruckus over by Monument. And, well, the bait might have been there, and Mikey had to at least go 1-for-1 in that position. They simply cannot do it. It's an early stack here at B.
Not good news. First tick of progress is locked, and the Profs are actually still a bit cautious, but there could be a play over towards A. I mean, Soapy's not moving. Soapy's still not moving, and this is going to lead to a full capture of the B zone. Just way too slow defensively here for the Profs to read what was happening. Nades are largely avoided, and actually the kills will come through. Still some potential contests, but the third tick of progress will be depleted. But look at the problem now on the minimap. Click has pushed through the A site, and this is going to cost Rowan probably some pretty significant lives as they try to make their play through Church Fields. Oh, good prediction.
Yeah, actually a really good read does come all the way through. They're able to lock down that kill, so no pinch antics coming all the way through. It's just really Red Chase that's still alive on the play. Soapy makes the play happen all the way through L over by Vines, does find at least 1 more player, and now they're behind enemy lines trying to commit towards this push to maybe stop any sort of antics going by over by rooftops. They would be wrong in the read, as Superior had committed towards this play. You even heard the siren go off that there is a player on the zone. They thought it was at A. It's all happening at B.
Yeah.
Now the B zone should be fully converted.
Yeah, it sure looks that way. Yep, sure will be. That's a kind of a miscue from Soapy. He's trying to chase down that player through roofs, and as his teammate got 1 kill, he thought that was the only player there. That was not the case. There were 2 players that are hitting through roofs, and Soapy not being a part of the defense means that the retake was never really able to come through, and now that we rotate back over to A, even though the lives are tight, the first tick of progress isn't a lock, and the win condition for UTC is just hold on to the A zone, and oh boy, Click. Hit fire, gunfight coming through. Red Chase, what? What was he shooting at? Just absolutely smokes his teammate. But the second tick of progress gets locked in until Rowan finally get an opportunity to contest.
I mean, it's impressive. You don't get aim assists on your teammates like that. So, I mean, yeah, nice shots, Red Chase. Definitely love to see that, I suppose. But third tick of progress should be here unless Soapy has anything to say about it. Let's find one on the opposite side of you, but can't get to the contest in time. Just, all right. Look, I mean, when you go for broke like that, if you are looking at that from UTC's side of things, you know, you're not always guaranteed that you're going to get the B zone initially, but it was such a delayed return coming through from the Profs that they almost walked away with it. But getting those 2 ticks of progress meant that it just 1 more push needed to come through. UT Chattanooga, they get the B zone, and then they immediately resurface over towards A. Not much more could be said besides the abundance of gunfights that were won along the way.
Yeah. My. So now Rowan has to win an offense at some point in time. You'd love to be competitive in this opening attack, but overcommitment there as Slim finds an easy first blood. First tick of progress, I don't believe was fully captured. No, it wasn't. There's the depletion starting to come into play as there's just no gunfights won by the Profs. And it's just, yeah, the team shots just aren't there. Honestly, it's just, there's a lot of individual trust, which I can appreciate, but we're not clearing things together, and we don't really know exactly when you need to get activated, and Chase is just having his way. 4 in a row for him, a triple in the kill feed for him as well, and the UTC Mox have only dropped 2 lives through the first 30 seconds of this control.
It's looking pretty one-sided. There's the third. That should be immediate information that there are at least players for the Rowan Esports trying to commit towards the rooftop. So Slim's going to be that guy on the backside of that tank, just waiting for the push to come all the way through. They have been split up the map, are Rowan, and the 2 players over by A come up with absolutely nothing. Now Soapy's in a 1v1 after losing their comrade over here. Will end up taking care of Slim. Now they just have to commit towards a pinch play, try to at least convert over towards A. They need these 60 seconds.
Badly. And it's not really coming through. Soapy on the flank will keep things safe, so the tick of progress is on the way. And more importantly, the clock is starting to get at least stalled out, at least a touch. The Red Chase has snuck through mid-U, at least for a small time. First tick still not stacked for, and actually, they get off the zone for a moment here, do the profs. Looking for some mid-map control, and that's going to allow Slim an opportunity to kind of get a read on the angles. Soapy keeps his head underneath the play initially, but now it's clicked through the middle of the map, and once again, UTC, damage in, numbers are 1, and you've already got a little bit of a play forward as the second tick of progress will almost fully be depleted before Sosa can reconcile.
27 seconds will be where the clock does get stalled out. 17 v 10. You would feel like even if the 60 seconds gets added onto the board, which it is currently being stacked for, this would continuously be an uphill battle for the profs to try to convert this offensive side. The third tick of progress will come through. Smart call from the Mox just to concede it because they lost a lot of lives on trying to return the presence back over towards the A zone.
The thing about this, though, is you feel like for Rowan, even though the lives are relatively neutral, you're going to need more than 9 to get the full capture here at B. And that seems to be 100% the case, as it's a 3-for-1 exchange favoring the Mox. And as Soapy continues to play behind enemy lines, the hit from the front is really where the focus needs to be here, because if you don't win those gunfights, it doesn't matter what Soapy does back here. He's just going to have to be stuck. And, oh, wait a second. Here we go. Double comes in from the front. Click able to keep his life. Trade will be there, though. And now we have a 7v5, and this all of a sudden becomes doable. Maybe not by progress, but by lives alone with still 45 seconds to play with.
Oh, Soapy gave away their position. Needs to find one of these kills, and the moment they stopped shooting at Click, they thought they could walk away with the kill onto Slim. Doesn't walk away with anything at all. 7v2. The lives just simply not there. 35 seconds. I mean, this would be miraculous if Jester and Soapy can make this happen. We see one inside of Bunks. Gets the read over by AS&D as well. 25 seconds. They got to get towards the zone.
Not looking good.
Nope.
And it will be bad. So, UTC stopped the offense of Rowan. And, of course, with that, with their offense being won by capture percentage, it pretty much guarantees them at worst a round 5 defense. But first and foremost, if you're Rowan, got to get something going here on this control. I mean, offensively, not much to work with. I mean, it was a kind of a last-second hit towards A that got him through. And defensively, I mean, you get beat on that opening B hit. If you're the Mox, I think you try to just full hit through Church and re-wrap back over to B. You know that Rowan should be throwing more numbers here defensively towards the B side, and they may just do that.
Kills are there for Rowan, but the kill feeds are not as convincing as you would hope for them to be able to get massive amounts of map positioning. Red Chase just has the thing about gunning his teammates, finds yet another team kill, but I don't think it really matters. Only losing that one life by way of Red Chase. This should be the first tick of progression, plus some extra coming through here today.
Good kills coming out as the second tick of progress is nearly locked in, but Jester wins a key one to make sure that the contest and the depletion can come through. Mid-map Superior is able to tally a double. And with help from Slim, that should surely mean that the second tick of progress is gone. And uh-oh, Rowan is full committing to A, and Click is already behind the B side. And once you realize that all the numbers are here at the A zone, Click should be able to freely get onto B if he wants to. But instead, opts to maybe play for the kills, trusting that Red Chase could just get the job done single-handedly, and wouldn't you know what, he's good for it. So the third tick of progress now should be locked in, and it will. Profs looking to play for exits, though. Sosa just walks into the line of sight of Red Chase, unfortunately, looking for some timing and finds nothing. And a 5-life lead starts to occur as we have just under 2 minutes for UTC to work with on the B zone.
And they know where Click's at in the back. Jester will chase down that kill with the wrap pistol, but here comes the reinforcements from UT Chattanooga just flying through the top side of Church. They clear away the backside of Bunks. Into radio they go, trying to enforce their hand on the backside of the B zone, and Red Chase is not slowing down.
Yeah, 5 in a row eventually gets cut up, but the job was largely done. And Click has once again snuck himself into the back line of the defense. Jester is kind of keeping him at bay for a touch, but as soon as these 3 players for UTC get ready to hit through P5, Click could very easily just come through mid-alley and just help his team from the front, really kind of neutralizing Jester's position overall. And Sosa really hasn't seen too much. Good thing Soapy has, though. They will both walk away with a kill each. And as Click was looking to make a play back over towards mid, he's going to decide that he needs to help clear out top Bunks. Mikey in his way, and a key gunfight won there as the profs neutralize the life count to just 2.
continuously finding these trades as well will not only dwindle the numbers as far as lives remaining are concerned, but will also dissuade any sort of antics for UT Chattanooga to be able to get over towards this B zone. Finally, some numbers are starting to come through. Now they can try to get over towards this B zone, but it has to be a double pinch coming through. One over by top patio, while one player flies out from top green, and it doesn't work out in succession of one another. So now again, Click is alive in the backside of column. Needs to rely that Slim is going to make the play happen inside of Church. The Suns come through. The numbers again dwindled for UT Chattanooga's offensive attempt.
Yeah, the thing about this here is not just the numbers on the attempt, but the time is starting to become a bit more of an issue. With only 30 seconds remaining, the 10 lives of Rowan could be enough to survive through this hit and see this control map extended another round, but the kills are starting to put some pressure on the Rowan. They're going to have to try to contest this zone as the numbers for UTC are now here. Jester looking to clean up the backside of column, and he's able to get one, but the second nade on the way forward for Red Chase actually allows an opportunity for UTC maybe to still delay this a little while longer. The big player they're missing is Click as he makes himself known. He will stall the clock a little while longer and now frees himself forward as he tries to get a 1v1 with Jester, but the truck blows up right on top of him, somehow still alive. Help along the backside. Slim's able to get there to assist, but someone's got to get onto the zone and touch. The time becoming a problem. 1.5, and no one will be able to get there in time. Rowan survived through the defense and extend this to a 4th round.
The keyword survived. I mean, again, that was wonderfully played out when it was just about fishing out the backside of Church, continuously making sure that there was no massive amount of numbers for UT Chattanooga in the backside of Church, making sure that their spawn was always secured. I mean, somehow Click is a slippery fish because he just continuously found himself on the backside of Church, just slowly slipping the net somehow, some way. But it was not enough to be able to influence any sort of antics for UT Chattanooga to be able to get a convincing amount of segments over by the B zone. So the problem still remains here for Rowan. They have to win back-to-back offenses given the tick progression off the early rounds.
A-zone focus looks good for the Profs. The problem is, do they know how heavy-handed this flank play from UTC is? Might not make much of a difference. Click cannot convert on a kill in front of him, so with that, the Profs will get a second tick of progress, and also with that, the A-zone. You want to compound the issue? How about number 7 in Sosa, who's already getting some individual progress towards B? And UTC are kind of stuck into a weird position here. They will neutralize the player getting progress on the B zone and instantly stack to deplete this, but a bit of a scramble here as Rowan is already kind of threatening the backlines.
That was actually a big play by Jester as the A-zone was being converted. Did find 2 kills, bought a lot of time for at least some reinforcements maybe to work their way across, but the trades were there. They are good for the mocks, but again, Rowan are checking off a multitude of boxes on this laundry list to be able to set themselves up for a B offense, but the trades are never going to be good. You need to make sure that you can at least hold some semblance of a numbers advantage going in towards this B zone. Soapy finds 1 top bunks. That should immediately be converted in towards top radio control, but they're more or less just trying to flood on the backside of Church.
And I can appreciate this if you're trying to neutralize the life count a little bit more before you start to get work done at B, because you've got so much time in the clock. But the problem here is you captured A so quickly that the win condition in the form of lives is not likely. Even if you were to find success here around the back, the clock will surely expire before the life count does. But I say all of that, and that's 9 kills, 10 kills in a row for Rowan. Looking really solid here in this offensive look to get the Mox into a dire position lives-wise, but as soon as they need to focus on the defense towards the zone, UT Chattanooga is able to collect 4 straight kills and also get a read that Mikey's in the back.
Again, all it really took was they got that kill top bunks. You just got to send a player to be able to get top radio and at least hold that line of fire and be able to keep more players at bay. From there, you could just watch the backside of the spawn, watch those players trying to roll all the way down to the backside of ramp. 4 players in towards the backside of Church now. Again, in a very weird position are UT Chattanooga, but they more or less have an understanding where these 3 players of Rowan are located at.
Yeah, and Superior spawning in that top garden side, getting that kill easily from behind has kind of stopped Rowan's play coming back towards the zone itself. Kills are still good, though. That's 3 in a row once more. There's the 4th, and now you stack. Get on, get some progress done, and really force these last 11 lives for UTC to have to find value! And how is Red Chase taking a triple? That just cannot happen with an SMG at range. And all of a sudden, what looked so good for Rowan has turned into maybe their exit to playoffs as UT Chattanooga have the clock to work with.
24 seconds remaining. You got to start flying across the map, and the setup for UT Chattanooga should be able to watch where all of this is located at. They're going to go for broke. They're going to exhaust a lot of time to try to play for the back again.
But I don't know if this is really going to have the time to do this. You've got high ground control for UTC on the front side of the zone, and you have players that can reflank the hit. Here it comes. Has to get this successful play in right here, right now. Red Chase and Click getting involved. Sosa on the zone, stuck in a corner. No elimination for the Profs when it matters most. Soapy, maybe a chance to touch, and he will get here, but has to win so many key gunfights, and he's not going to be able to. UT Chattanooga win the series 3-0 and punch a ticket into the playoff bracket.
It would have been an upset of the century. I mean, Rowan gave themselves ample opportunities in that previous offense to get themselves a B-zone conversion. They had the two-player stack coming all the way through, but it's this play right here. I mean, Red Chase just held down the trigger. And he just waltzed right back into it. I mean, there's really no reason, if you're not being immediately contested on the zone, to try to resurface and recontest that gunfight. Again, I go back to that last play that they had previous to that they gave themselves an opportunity to get over by the B-zone. Soapy found that play and that kill, top bunks, but they did not push all the way through to be able to get that top radio position. I don't know how many times you and I have casted Tuscan Control at this point through the Vanguard tenure, but even more so, I feel like I'm just going to lose my mind when I finally see players understand that if you're trying to get themselves on the B zone, one of the biggest positions that you have to hold in your favor as an offensive team is top radio. That line of sight is way too strong. You can watch all the way towards the back. You could reinforce the player that's playing on the backside of the truck, and that allows SMGs or even an AR, I don't care, to play inside of the zone itself to watch that ramp all the way from the bottom side of Church. It was that one position away from the Props. I truly feel like that if they won one gunfight to hold top radio, we probably would have been loading into another round. Maybe.
It's tough, man. It's one of those things that it seems like a small thing, but it does have massive implications. And there's the final scoreboard. And honestly speaking, if it wasn't for Red Chase, and it may have been a totally different story overall, because honestly, for Rowan, I know we don't get the last member for Sosa listed, but he didn't have a terrible game. So, I mean, the kill-death ratio for Rowan was actually pretty darn close. It just came down to those key moments. Even the assist numbers are generally better than what we had seen in the first two maps, trying to get involved with those team shots. But after you lose that opening defense, you would have been, I think, largely hard-pressed to have figured that Rowan was going to win two offenses in a row to send us to a fourth map. So tough scenes there for the Profs, but UT Chattanooga, I think that pretty much guarantees the fact that they will be the number 2 seed coming out of their group. And here is how they did it in this series in particular. A very convincing opening between the 250 to 150 hardpoint and the 6-1 search. A bit more contest for Rowan there in the control, but largely speaking, comfortable waters for UTC from start to finish.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, it was that defense that really did it, right? I mean, they were just splitting themselves up way too much. They were not able to play off the information that was given to them and being able to collect on players trying to constantly berate multiple zones at the same time. Look, the Profs looked a lot better today than they did versus the Davenport Panthers when we casted over them quite some time ago. But that, unfortunately, will be the end of their stint because, I mean, again, coming away from the way the Group C has completely played out, I mean, Mox, they only had to play Fanshawe Fuel, and you'd have to assume that would probably end up being a W in their books. Yeah, they're going to be perfectly fine. Concord, they go completely, they clean sweep everybody, I believe all in 3-0 fashion. They're all the way through. That was really the battle over that second place. The only team that might have been able to contest for that second place would have ended up being this Rowan Profs roster. They just could not stand up to the presence that were the Mox today.
Tough scenes, but that's the way it goes. When we get to the postseason, you start to get against some pretty heavy hitters. So UTC looked good to get in with Concord, as mentioned, out of the group. Still a lot of results that would have to come out of the rest of the Eastern region before we can really report on too much. I think the biggest storyline is the simple fact that Rutgers not in the playoff bracket. Tough scenes for them, but that's what happens when you don't keep a good calendar. So with that in mind, that gets us, at least from the broadcast point of view, through the group stage, which means that we're getting ready for the playoff bracket. And of course, everyone's excited about what's to happen with LAN, and open your eardrums because we're thrilled to announce the dates for the in-person finals to the CCL 22 playoffs will happen Saturday, June 11th and Sunday, June 12th. That'll still be held in Columbus, Ohio, but information on the venue, travel, lodging, and more will be released in a news article soon. So go ahead and get to your bosses in work and say, I'm off that weekend, June 11th, June 12th, CCL in-person finals for the 2022 playoffs. You're not going to want to miss it. Own little personal shout out. I will be spearheading a CCL Scramble Golf tournament the day after on Monday, so keep that Monday open as well. Just going to say that much. I know Proper's going to be there. You'll be shanking it off the tee box. It'll be
Probably.
good.
Probably. If I can just somehow hit my 54 degree on every single shot, we would just be perfectly fine. But that's just not
That's actually facts. Wait, you're actually nasty with that one. Jonathan, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for LAN, man. Look, we finally get a CCL LAN. You and I hopped in during the Black Ops 4 year. Now we finally get to see what these colleges look like on LAN. It's gonna be nuts, dude. My birthday's on June 10th. I'll be there for that. We're gonna be
casual.
It's gonna be a great time throughout that entirety of the weekend. I get to see you in person yet again. I mean, not like we live too far away from each other, but even still, dude. It's going to be such a good time to be able to see all of these collegiate athletes throw it down on LAN, to be able to see who's going to be the 2022 season, dude. We've waited such a long time for that announcement. I'm just happy it's out in the open.
So there it is, 11th to 12th of June, Columbus, Ohio. And keep that Monday open, too. Just going to say that out loud. So I want to play golf with you guys. But I want to play COD first. So, well, that's, of course, the main focus. The group stage, done and dusted. 16-team double elimination playoff brackets, what's coming up next. And also, of course, on broadcast, we will be moving to the weekends as we don't just put some light on both the Eastern and Western playoff bracket, but also the Academy Finals will be broadcasted before we get to that CCL LAN. So make sure you start to be aware of the return of the broadcast on different days. And, of course, as mentioned, the 11th and 12th of June. Keep those days and that full weekend open for you. That's it for the evening. We'll catch you guys for the playoff bracket next. And until that point, make sure you keep on with that. Later.